Mics are hot.
Okay.
All right.
Welcome to beautiful Tucson, Arizona MLS Preseason 2018, the Mobile Mini Sun Cup, the premier match of this MLS Preseason 2018 in Tucson. It is every year the Portland Timbers and the Seattle Sounders taking their rivalry to the desert in the preseason. I'm Jake Zivin, joined by former Portland Timbers and Seattle Sounders midfielder and forward Steve Zakawani. Steve, this is the best rivalry in MLS in the regular season and the playoffs, even in the preseason. You've played on both sides of it. What does it mean, even in this sort of environment, even in Tucson, Arizona?
Yeah, in preseason it carries a tiny bit of difference in terms of meaning because you're not really competing against the other team. You're competing for yourself. You're trying to get fit. You've been training double days sometimes, and so it makes a nice change. You go up against another squad, and especially if it's your rival, that's even easier. But both these teams have something to play for tonight. For the Sounders, their real season starts in a couple of weeks. They're in the Champions League in a real meaningful big game. For the Portland Timbers, there's a new coach in charge, a new regime, a new era. No matter who you are on that squad, you have to prove that you belong because it's still preseason. There's still time to make changes, and so you're not really playing against each other tonight. You're playing for yourselves, and it makes a nice change that it's not training. It's a real-life opponent.
Now let's talk about the Seattle Sounders. 2 straight MLS Cups. Of course, they won 2 years ago. They lost to Toronto this past season. Not a lot of change from them as they come into this year. Clearly happy with their squad.
They have been happy with their squad. I mean, I'm sure the general manager and the coaching staff looked at potential changes and maybe didn't see the right fit. It's an experienced squad, a squad that's got to the final the last 2 years. Definitely good. Still maybe some room for improvement, but tonight we'll get a good look at where they stand now. As I said, their real season begins very, very soon. So tonight's a very, very important first step towards this 2018 season.
Oh, we'll talk about the Portland Timbers as they head into the 2018 season with the new head coach, Giovanni Savarese. After the national anthem, we'll have starting lineups as well and kickoff between the Timbers and Sounders from Tucson coming up in minutes. Minutes away from kickoff between the Portland Timbers and the Seattle Sounders. We'll go with the starting 11s from both these teams. We'll begin with Seattle. Steve, a different look from them. They're going with a 4-4-2, a diamond formation today.
It is different. This team's been playing in a 4-2-3-1 the past couple of years under Ziggy Schmidt and then Brian Schmetzer. But tonight it's a diamond formation. Stephen Fry in goal. He's no stranger now to Sounders fan base. He's really established himself as one of the top goalkeepers in the league. At right back, Kelvin Leerdam. Across the centre backs is Chad Marshall and Tony Alfaro. And at left back, the first look at brand new signing, Waylon Francis, who's an experienced international and MLS player, but his first stint here as a Sounder. Defending midfield, it's not Osvaldo Alonso, it's Jordi Delem tonight, a player who got some minutes last year, hoping to build on that this year. And then on the left and right of the diamond is Harry Shipp and Christian Roldan. In front of them is Nico Lodero, who is the captain tonight. And up top is Jordan Morris, and Will Bruin for the Sounders. Will Bruin, who had a fantastic debut season for the Sounders last year. The two of them playing up top in a 4-4-2 diamond formation for the Sounders today.
For the Portland Timbers, the familiar 4-2-3-1 that we were used to seeing under head coach Caleb Porter. Giovanni Savarese trotting it out as well. And this is a very familiar group. All of these guys were on the team a year ago. Jeff Adinella gets the start and goal. Vitas at left back, Liam Ridgewell, Larry Smabiala pair at center backs. Elvis Powell is the right back. David Guzman and Lawrence Olam in the defensive midfield. Sebastian Blanco, Diego Valeri, Dairon Asprilla, that line of three behind the big man, Fernando Adi, who is finally back to health after missing the last 12 matches of 2017, including the playoffs, with a hamstring injury. Steve, you talked about your thoughts on Seattle heading into 2018 quickly before kickoff. Your thoughts on the Portland Timbers, some change, some faces that we were used to seeing for a long time in Timbers colors, not there.
It's a big change. Caleb Porter cast a very big shadow over that club, did wonders at the Portland Timbers. He's gone, along with very key players also. So this squad here is playing to kind of re-establish themselves after disappointing playoffs last year, but also to impress the new head coach.
And we're underway, the Portland Timbers and the Seattle Sounders. The Mobile Mini Sun Cup from Tucson, Arizona, MLS Preseason 2018. Timbers, of course, in all green, Seattle in all white. Dairon Asprilla bombing down the right to begin this match. It might make it to Valeri. He tried to turn. It was broken up well by Christian Roldan. And an early foul between these two rivals. A giveaway from Seattle. We mentioned Roldan making the interception there on the first attack of the game. He's back from the U.S. national team, has his Jordan Morris. Both those guys starting today. And it sounded like they maybe a little ahead of their teammates because of that time in U.S. camp. They kind of had an extended preseason and have looked sharp so far.
They have, but it also was a very short off-season, so there is a balance there between throwing them right back in and giving them some rest. But Brian Schmetz and coach Stuff will know what they're doing. For Christian Roldan in particular, and also Jordan Morris, it's a very big year. Roldan has been better every year since being drafted by the Seattle Sounders, and for Jordan Morris, after a strong rookie year, his sophomore campaign wasn't as great, and he's hoping to bounce back this season.
Diego Valeri, the 2017 MVP, in towards Dairon Asprilla. Jordy Delem defending, and it's the first corner kick of this match.
You can already see that the game's going to be played at a pretty fast tempo here, both teams. It is preseason, but as I said, they're playing for very different things. The Timbers is to kind of get running under the new head coach and that new regime, and for the Sounders is to get ready for a real game in the Champions League in just a couple of weeks here.
David Guzman to take the corner into the near post, cleared away by Seattle. Yeah, the Sounders with that kind of short runway that some MLS teams are dealing with now and are used to dealing with every year. When you have the CCL, they'll play Santa Tecla in El Salvador on the 22nd of February. The Timbers don't start their season until March 4th. So a little bit of an added importance to getting match fit for Seattle.
And I've been a part of that for the Sounders a couple of times during my career where we had a Champions League game coming up, and it wasn't easy because you're really pushing extra in preseason more than you usually do, and your off season is very, very short. And no matter what you do, once you enter the Champions League, you're going to be behind the Central American teams anyway. So it's kind of a tough spot to be in. But this Sounders team really, I think, to the fan base, the Champions League does mean a lot. It's a competition we haven't always done well in, and so this year is a good chance now to kind of excel in that, and the draw was kind of kind to the Sounders also.
New format this year, of course. The Mexican teams, the MLS teams, the North American teams essentially getting a bye to the round of 16, so they didn't have to kind of qualify in the fall, and instead they'll play this round of 16 in February. Adinella coming off his line to catch. That avoids an MLS Mexico matchup that you used to find. It'd be the quarterfinals, and MLS teams in preseason would have to go up against Liga MX teams in the middle of their season, and that was so tough for MLS teams. Well, now you get a team like the Sounders playing an El Salvador team. Nothing against Santa Tecla, but they're not going to be at the level of a Liga MX team.
And I'm all for that change because I've been on the receiving end of some lopsided defeats against the likes of Santos Laguna and Monterrey. They will just advance, and they're already good teams to begin with, but if they're fitter and a little bit sharper than you are, it's going to be that much harder. So the change is good for the Sounders, but it does add importance to this kind of game. I've come into preseasons where you don't start till March 15th or March 16th, and you have some time to get into it. Not the case this year. In a couple of weeks' time, you're playing for a very, very big competition, and so the Sounders have to get with it, and tonight it's a great test against a Portland Timbers team who also have a lot to play for on their own side.
Seattle will play another match tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. against the Columbus Crew. I talked to Brian Schmetzer just before this match. He said the reason for that is they need 20 guys to be match fit in time for that Champions League match, and so by playing just a starting group for 60 minutes and then maybe a second group for 30 minutes in one match tonight, that won't get the job done. By having another match in the morning, they can give a starting group 60 tonight and then a second group 60 tomorrow morning, around that tomorrow morning as well, to kind of continue that progression in the preseason for 20 guys instead of maybe just 11 as some teams are doing at this point.
And it makes perfect sense. You know, a lot of times people will ask me, how has the league changed from when I came in until now? When I came in 2009, we had a starting 11 and maybe the bench went 3 or 4 deep and you kind of knew those were the guys involved. It's a very, very modern game now. It's caught up to the global game where you need 20, 22 guys because there's injuries and there's a lot of competitions, and if you're a big club like the Sounders, you're playing a lot of games, and so you do need more than just your 18 that you'll go with, and that's why Schmetzer does want to build a fitness into the guys, because you're not sure who you're going to be needing in a couple of weeks' time, and the team right now is a little bit banged up. A couple of key guys missing tonight that we'd expect to see in a regular, usual starting 11, so that's also a part of it.
The Timbers in there. As you see, Brian Schmetzer, Seattle's head coach. Timbers a little bit, behind in that fitness as you'd expect them to be. This is their second match of the preseason. They played on Wednesday against San Jose, 3 30-minute periods. The starting group almost exactly the same as the one you're seeing right now, with one exception. Valentin started instead of Elvis Powell. Those guys played just 30 minutes for the most part in that match. Tonight we expect to see them get a full half, 45 minutes, and then a big change at halftime with another 11 coming in. Here's David Guzman over the set piece, and it's easy for Stefan Fry. Waylon Francis, one of a few new signings for Seattle this season. Again, less roster turnover for Seattle than for most MLS teams at this point in the preseason. Waylon Francis, one of those guys that they brought in as a left back to compete with Nuhu. I know the Sounders really happy with Nuhu, how he's progressed, a young guy, especially how he came on and contributed at the end of last season. Very
happy with him, but for the Sounders, they lost Jovan Jones at left back, who, in my estimation, was the best left back in the league while he was here. Last season had double digits in assists as well, and that's one of the issues this formation presents for the Sounders. Is you play that diamond midfield, it's very narrow. You have Christian Roldan on one side and Harry Shipp on the other side, and they're 20 yards apart right now. The width then has to come from your outside backs, and so you need Kelvin Leerdam bombing on forward and Waylon Francis doing the same thing. Jovan Jones had no issue doing that. It came naturally to him, and so Brian Schmetzer and coaching staff have to really emphasize the width coming from the outside players, because your wingers are non-existent and they're playing inside.
Here's Nicholas Ladero getting into the box. Laris Mabiala defending. Powell as well. Jovan Jones, the only player that appeared in MLS Cup for the Sounders, not on the roster as we begin the 2018 preseason. Ladero trying to get it through to Jordan Morris. Ridgewell cuts it off. Powell into Adi, tried to leave it for Asprilla, and it was too heavy of a touch. Big for the Timbers to get Fernando Adi back to health. Had that hamstring injury that just kind of kept lingering at the end of last season. Ended up missing the final 10 matches of the regular season and then the 2 playoff matches against Houston. He says he would have been ready for MLS Cup if the Timbers had made it that far, but of course they were eliminated in the conference semifinals. Morris was onside. Adanella had to come get it. Really, Adi provides just a different dimension, I think, when he's out there for the Timbers.
He's one of the remaining players on that team that I actually played with, Fernando Adi, and I'm a big fan of his. He's always, you kind of see him just as a hold-up guy. He can keep the ball, but he's not afraid to make runs in behind, and he's a deadly, deadly finisher. When I first saw him play, I didn't know he'd score this many goals, but he's been fantastic.
Morris, good combination. Shipp is through, and Adanella makes the save, and it's going to be put in. It's the first goal for Seattle It's Christian Roldan getting the Sounders on the scoreboard.
And that's just good attacking play by the Sounders. It's one of the benefits of having two strikers up top. They can play off of each other. Jordan Morris and Wilburn running off of each other there. Wilburn checks deep. Jordan lays it off to him. Harry Shipp, the third man running, probably should have finished. Jordan could have finished. And finally, Christian Roldan says, here, I'll take it. It's a very, very good goal by the Sounders. Very incisive passing. That will please Brian Schmetzer. But that is one of the benefits of having two guys up there. It's not one forward isolated. And you're already seeing maybe a benefit to this new 4-4-2 formation.
And Jeff Adanella did all he could do on the initial chance to keep Harry Shipp out. Baldomero Toledo, a referee today. Great start for the Diamond. Brian Schmetzer changing it up for this match. He wants a secondary formation that he can use if necessary. Wants a way to, as you've talked about, get two forwards out on the field together with Morris, Bruin, and Dempsey. He feels like he has three really good forwards and trying to figure out a way to get him on the field. He's going to be super happy with how that started. 10 minutes in and a goal.
Absolutely. And for Seattle, we've seen Will Bruin up top by himself, and it's incomplete because he's not as comfortable making runs in behind. We've seen Jordan Morris up top by himself, and he's not as comfortable because he likes to have people around him to play off of and to play him in behind. So having both of them now, that's the thinking for Brian Schmetzer there. It will be interesting to see when Clinton Dempsey is fully healthy and back in the lineup where he kind of fits into that. But I've always been a fan of having two up top. It occupies the centre backs. It allows you to play off of each other. And if you have dynamic players like Nico Lodeiro, who's always trying to play a through ball underneath you, it's the best system for me having two up top because it just gives you that many more options.
Lodeiro trying to get it over Ridgewell. He does. Positive touch from Morris and a foot race with Ridgewell. Morris got there first. We look to Baldomero Toledo and no call.
That's an interesting one because I'm not sure if it was shoulder to shoulder or if their feet got tangled. And I don't remember Ridgey being that quick when I was there, but he did well because Jordan Morris is very, very, very fast and Ridgewell stayed with him there. No call.
Now here's Valeri. Sliding in well is Tony Alfaro.
I mean, it's a great ball by Nico Lodeiro. It's a decent touch by Jordan Morris. Touches it across towards Liam Ridgewell, and that's just great defending in my opinion. Gets his shoulder across, puts his body in the way. Very good defended.
Liam Ridgewell, as you mentioned, showing off a bit of his speed at the age of 33. And Jordan Morris, one of the faster guys in the league. That's certainly the trait he's known for.
I've got to talk to Ridgey after because he must have been training because I do not remember seeing him being able to run that fast. And Jordan's very, very quick, but that was fantastic defending. And for Ridgewell, honestly, he suffered with injuries in his time in Portland, but when he's been on the pitch, the numbers don't lie. The team keeps more clean sheets. He's a leader back there, very, very vocal from his first day at training. You'd have thought that he's been there for 10 years because he comes in and commands the locker room, and it's good to see him back there fully fit and doing what he does best.
Yeah, only played in 15 matches last season, missed 19 with an injury, but you referred to how good the Timbers have been when he's on the field, especially at home. The numbers are remarkable. In the regular season, the last 18 home starts for Liam Ridgewell, the Timbers are 16-0-2 at Providence Park when he started. His health has been extremely important for the Timbers, and seeing him fit coming into preseason, certainly something that's going to make Timber supporters smile.
He's a big player. He's a reference player. When I think of the Timbers now, with Darlington Nagbe gone, I would talk about Fernando Adi, Diego Valeri, Diego Chara, and Liam Ridgewell. That's kind of the four that if they're in the squad, this team always has a chance. And they're probably the four that the new coaching staff is going to come in and depend on and lean on. And it makes sense because they've been there and they're proven.
Diego Chara still recovering from the foot injury he suffered in the first leg against Houston in the Western Conference semis. Seems to be progressing well. He's been working out on the side at training with his big smile that we're always used to seeing. Timbers supporters, of course, can't wait to see him back out on the pitch. Roldan again looking for Morris. He tried to leave it for Bruin. Ridgewell was there. The Timbers will try to counter. Big switch from Valeri to Esprilla. Tries to touch it around Waylon Francis. Francis recovered well. Waylon Francis acquired in a trade with Columbus. Was with the Crew the past 4 seasons. Started in the 2015 MLS Cup against the Timbers, but then struggled to kind of really lock down the starting left back position in the Crew the past 2 years.
And that's what needs to happen right there. Great run by Francis when Harry Shipp tucks inside.
He's trying to find Bruin. It almost got to Will Bruin, but just a little bit ahead of him, and Adanella was able to catch.
It's fantastic play when Harry Shipp tucks inside on the left side, or Christian Roldan on the right side tucks inside, which they will do. That's the way they play in this diamond especially. It's imperative that Leerdam and Waylon Francis become the width. They become the wingers. And Francis did a tremendous job there. Jordi Delem channeling his inner Osvaldo Alonso, playing a fantastic pass out wide. It was a decent delivery and it was good goalkeeping, but that's encouraging to see for the Sounders because at times this team has struggled in terms of generating width. And with Jovan Jones leaving, that was a concern on this left side, but France is doing very, very well there.
Fair to say it's a big opportunity for Jordi Delem tonight, a 24-year-old starting in this match to make an impression in the preseason.
And I'm a big fan of Jordi Delem because I've seen him day in, day out at training when I'm there, and I feel that when you're behind Osvaldo Alonso, there's a benefit and it also can be tough because you're not going to displace him in a squad, but you can learn so much from him, and I feel that Jordi Delem has soaked up a lot from Osvaldo Alonso. He's not afraid to get his feet stuck in, and he's very, very good at passing, and we just saw an example of that. And with Christian Roldan and Alonso in front of him, probably won't play every game, but as we said earlier, you do need 20, maybe 25 players with all the competitions these days, and Delem definitely can make a stake today to show Branch Messer that he's progressed as a player and deserves more playing time.
Chad Marshall in his 15th MLS preseason. One of the all-time MLS defenders, has played in the 6th most MLS matches in history, 5th most starts and minutes played. Still doing it at the age of 33. Alfaro gave it away. Another young player for Seattle, 24-year-old center back Tony Alfaro, 3rd season with the Sounders. That's almost a giveaway from Guzman. Makes it to Blanco. And Roldan wins it back for Seattle. Again, direct over the top. Morris settles. Leerdam trying to find Will Bruin. Vitas defended. Leerdam still fighting for it. And Olam wins it. Rather, it was Mabiala winning it for Portland. Two 45-minute halves tonight. You never know in the preseason what the format's going to be, but this will be like a real match. As both these teams continue their progression in the preseason, progression towards their season openers, as we've mentioned, for Seattle. That's a little bit shorter. The 22nd of February, their CCL first leg, round of 16 match with Santa Tecla. The Timbers have until March 4th. They'll open their regular season at the LA Galaxy. Timbers will be coming back here to Tucson after a week in Portland. They fly home tomorrow, then come back in a week as Valeri picks the pocket of Roldan and comes forward. Has Adi on the right. A little bit behind the run of Adi. Got caught up in his feet. And that stunted the attack. Blanco now over everybody.
And it's not often you see Diego Valeri misjudging the weight of a pass, but definitely played that behind Fernando Adi there. And the good thing about this for players, you can always just say it's preseason. So I'm still finding my feet. And that was definitely the case there for Diego Valeri, but a fantastic opportunity for the Portland Timbers to get in behind, which they couldn't capitalize on.
Still preseason even for the MVP. Diego Valeri coming off his best season a year ago. 21 goals, 11 assists. Aldemiro Toledo having a little chat. And now Guzman sending it into the box. Headed away. I think that was Morris. And it'll be another corner for Portland. Guzman again. Oh, Mabiala, that's a great save from Stephen Fry. Had to react quickly. It was within his range, but he's able to push it over the bar.
It's another really good delivery by Guzman there, putting it right along the 6-yard box. Very, very tough for the defenders to get anything on it, and Portland Timbers attacking it really, really well.
Let's do it again. Another corner. This will be the 4th straight for the Timbers. Guzman's going to have to hustle over to the far side to take this one. It's to the back post this time. It's over Fry. Mabiala tried to leave it. Nobody there. Seattle will maybe try to counter. Leerdam to Ship. Now Ladero in the middle. Powell came back, rather Adi came back to break it up. And the big striker is going to be shown the first card of this match.
It's a foul. It's a foul. I mean, he kind of bailed Ladero out there because he really had no options in front of him. He was the furthest man forward, dribbling with the ball. Fernando Adi with a striker's tackle there and bringing Ladero down. Easy first yellow card.
You talked about Fernando Adi and seeing him coming in, being a teammate of his in 2014. As you've seen his progression now in his 5th season in Portland, what has he done to improve his game since the young guy that came into the Timbers from Copenhagen in 2014?
I never would have guessed after watching him that first week, that first month, that he'd go on to score the 40-plus goals that, or whatever it is that he has for the Portland Timbers now, and be neck and neck with Diego Valeri as the all-time leading goal scorer. But he was always strong. He's a lot bigger in person than he even looks on TV. He's a huge, huge guy, and his hold-up play has always been good. What he's improved, I think, is just his link-up play with his teammates. When he first came, sometimes he could be detached from the rest of the team. Links up very well now. Not afraid to make his runs in behind. And as I said, from day one, inside the 18-yard box, he's a fantastic finisher. Left foot, right foot, heading the ball. Very good from the penalty spot. He's just a forward who has it all. And when he's on his game, he really does take this Timbers team to a different level. And it's really been one of the best signings in that club's history.
10 goals last season, and again in a year that was stunted short by injuries. And he was passed on the Timbers' all-time goal-scoring list by Diego Valeri. He set that record, passing John Bain with 46 early in the year. And then he got hurt, and Valeri went on his scoring binge, and now Valeri the all-time leader. Seattle looking for a second, and they'll have their first corner kick of the match.
And this is as sharp as I've seen Jordan Morris in a very, very long time. He was hampered by injuries towards the end of last season, never fully recovered. But the offseason's done him good. The January training camp has done him good. He's a guy who's played a lot of football in the past 2 or 3 years, going back to his college days, making it to the finals with Stanford and being in the MLS Cup his first 2 years as a pro. And so he just seems fresh. He seems fresh tonight, making runs in behind, combining. He's been the Sounders' most dangerous player so far, along with Nico Ladero, as you'd expect for the guys they have out there. So it's a good sign for the Sounders and Brian Schmetzer to see Jordan Morris looking so free and moving so fluidly right now.
He had to come off the bench in MLS Cup, never recovered really from that hamstring injury enough to play 90 in the playoffs. Corner in, Adanella punching clear. Blanco towards Valeri. Good touch over to Adi in space. Doesn't really have any help forward, Fernando Adi. And he's going to slow it down. Tenacious from Delem, won it back for the Sounders. Ship draws a foul from Powell. Elvis Powell's making his first appearance of the preseason, had wrist surgery in the offseason, and the Timbers were cautious with him on Wednesday. They've been cautious bringing him back into kind of full contact activities, whether that be in training or in matches, but he's now finally getting the start tonight. Right before that last Seattle corner kick, David Guzman picked up a yellow card. So Guzman and Adi now on yellows for the Timbers.
And Guzman very fortunate not to get a foul called on him there, just body checking Jordi Delem. But there's a good tempo to this game. There's a good atmosphere from the fans that are here. Definitely the reason I think these two teams enjoy playing this game is it's a step up from just a preseason training game. So they definitely care a little bit more.
Oh, Valeri with the head. We saw it so often in 2017. He's done it again. The service from his good buddy Sebastian Blanco. And we're level in the 25th.
It's what Diego Valeri does. For an attacking midfielder to have the numbers he has is simply astonishing. And I'm speaking about Fernando Adi and the different ways he scores goals. Valeri might even have more tricks up his sleeve, because you don't have to see the number 10 being the guy at the end of a cross like that, finishing with his head. He improved his heading last year, Diego Valeri, which made him an even better player than he already was. The Sounders scored a great goal. That's also a very, very good goal by the Portland Timbers. Blanco on the left-hand side, cutting back, very good cross. All Valeri has to do is redirect it. The pace is already on the ball, and Stefan Fry, no chance, 1-1.
His heading statistics, to me, are so remarkable. One of my favorite stats. He scored no goals with his head in his first 4 seasons in the league in 116 matches. He had 5 in 2017. Last year, all of a sudden, kind of out of nowhere, and he did it right from the jump.
And it's one of those things where I'm not sure if he's worked on it or if it just happened to have those opportunities, because I don't remember him scoring with his header even in training when I was there. So he's added it to his game, and that's what the great players do. They find ways to consistently improve, and Diego Valeri is just here in the preseason, but already showing that he's looking to pick up where he left off last season.
Yeah, he said that in that offseason before last year, he worked on heading the ball. He wanted to add that to his game, the ability to finish with his head. And not just the kind of the physical aspect of doing it, but the runs, what runs to make in the box to free himself up, to put himself in good spots, to score those goals with his head. And he's continued it here in the preseason.
And he has a great knack for his timing into the box, Diego Valeri. He always had that, and normally you see him finish with his feet, but he makes those late runs, kind of eludes the defensive midfielder on the opposing team, gets in where the centre-backs can't see him, and then once he's in there, he can finish as well as anybody in this league.
So Roldan and Valeri, the goal scorers so far. 1-1, about just past halfway through the first half. Fernando Adi is offside. I mentioned the atmosphere. This is always one of the best attended games of this preseason down here in Tucson. You have the people from Tucson who want to come out and watch one of the best rivalries in MLS. You've got traveling fans from both Portland and Seattle that come down. The Desert Corps, the members of the Timbers Army that live here in Arizona, always kind of make this, I think, their MLS Cup, so to speak, their big match. And it does kind of change things. You can feel it always every year. A little bit different than what we saw on Wednesday when Portland played San Jose, 3 30-minute periods at 11 a.m. local time here in Tucson. Matches like that, they maybe don't always feel like a real game. Well, tonight it's closer to that. I think you probably want that in the preseason.
You do, and I've played on both sides of that. I've played in the 11 a.m., 3 30-minute periods, and you have a hard time getting to go. You might get a man walking his dog who stops to watch, but it's very tough to get going. When you're in this kind of atmosphere, it's not quite a regular season, but it brings that feel to it. The fans are singing, they're into it. The players are juiced up, they're ready to go. And so I do like this fixture that we're seeing it every year. Hopefully it continues and teams thrive off it.
Morris again behind. Ridgewell over to defend. He's able to block the initial cross. Morris leaves for Ship. Ship cutting it across. It's off Guzman. It'll be a corner.
But again, Jordan Morris with a running behind. That's 5 or 6 in this half alone. Liam Ridgewell did a good job staying with him initially. On the deflection, Jordan Morris did a fantastic job to find Harry Ship. His cutback was well defended by the Timbers, but it's such a positive sign to see Jordan Morris moving how he's moving, very engaged. And with Nico Ladera, I've always said, if Nico's on the field and you make a run, 9 times out of 10, his passes will find you.
Ladera will take this corner now. The second one for Seattle. Marshall the target. That's a good look for the big center back, Chad Marshall. And he wasn't able to put it on goal. "15 seasons now for Chad Marshall. 3-time MLS Defender of the Year. The only person in MLS history to win that award 3 times. 2014 with Seattle, 2009, 2008. As well, he played so many years in Columbus, first 10 seasons in the league with the Crew, won an MLS Cup there, came to Seattle, won an MLS Cup in Seattle. He has had quite the career and still going. Here's Powell. Ship over to defend. Powell gets by him. Nifty back heel to Asprilla. Valeri tried to help it to Blanco, and it's cleared by Leardown. Adi holding off Marshall.
That's always a fun matchup, watching those two go out. I really do love watching those two go out. I think they enjoy it too. They thrive off of each other. So Adi coming out on top that time, causing Chad Marshall to commit the foul. But two of the best at their roles in the league. Chad Marshall, you were talking about him earlier. I played against Chad Marshall, and I always remember always being so impressed just by his positioning, his timing. Wasn't the quickest, but somehow always knew where to be, and to still be doing it 15 years in or so is pretty remarkable. And he's the Sounders leader back there, and when he plays well, just like for Liam Ridgewell with the Timbers, the Sounders tend to come out on top also.
Yeah, that battle with him and Fernando Adi, and you throw Roman Torres in there as well, and you've got Adi going up against both of those guys.
Torres and Adi might be even more fun than Chad and Adi. Yeah, Torres and Adi. I forgot about that one.
They've certainly gotten into the rivalry as well, I think. You're talking to both Giovanni Savarese and Brian Schmetzer before this match about playing a rivalry game in the preseason, and they didn't dismiss that. Savarese said every time you step on the field, you want to win no matter what, even if it is in the preseason, that he really understands the importance beyond that of a rivalry, of a derby match. This is his first time, of course, being involved in this. He said when you play your brother in the hallway, you still have to win, even if it's that. He's taken that attitude in, and for Brian Schmetzer, the guy who's been in this rivalry longer than anybody, I think, that's currently still here, a guy who played for the Sounders in the NASL days, he said moments like this are good to teach the young guys about it. He said stories, rivalries, they die off if you don't kind of pass it on. The history can fade away if you don't pass it on to the young guys. He's one of the most passionate people about this rivalry around, and we're seeing another chapter of it tonight.
Absolutely. I learned about this rivalry from Brian Schmetzer. We played against the Portland Timbers in a U.S. Open Cup game, and he gave the pre-game team talk the night before the game, and it was the most passionate talk I'd seen given by any coach ever, and it got me ready to go and got the guys who weren't from Seattle to understand what this rivalry meant. So him being now the head coach, that's definitely going to be passed on from the first team down to the academy. You'll know what it means to play against the Portland Timbers. 3
yellow cards now as the third one of the match for the foul on Sebastian Blanco in just 32 minutes of a preseason game. And a set piece now for the Timbers. There's Sebastian Blanco entering his second year. More settled in now with the Timbers. Really turned it on at the end of last season. Really starting to contribute in a major way. Goes back to childhood with Diego Valeri. They grew up together playing for Lanús in Argentina. Teammates again now. Guzman will take this set piece. And he drives it into the near post. Valeri tried to flick it on, and that may be Valeri, a guy who's done great with his head. It was maybe too difficult of a chance for him, though he did earn a corner as it came off a Sounders defender. Oh, it's loose in the box. It was kind of awkward with Adi and Marshall battling, and it fell. Bruin had to eventually get it clear, and here comes Jordan Morris. Look at that speed, burning down the left side past Larry Smabiala. Leaves for Ladero. Ladero was going for goal. It's in the belly of Jeff Adanella.
This game's been worth it just to see Jordan Morris sprint the 5 or 6 times he has done, because we didn't get to see that often last year. He struggled with injuries, was out of form for parts of it. He's looked very, very, very sharp tonight, and the understanding between him and Nico Lodeiro can only be a positive sign for the Seattle Sounders. Nothing came of that there. Lodeiro going for the shot, which was a very comfortable save for the Portland goalkeeper, but it's very, very good to see the form and willingness to run that Jordan Morris is in right now, and he gets that knowing that he has Will Bruin central. That's what having 2 forwards up there can also do. One can always stay central, the other can play off him. It's a lot harder to do when you're the only guy who's up there and you're kind of responsible for being the highest man forward.
He looks fast, he looks dangerous, he looks fit. He played 90 minutes for the U.S. against Bosnia and Herzegovina on Sunday, 6 days ago. He had that whole camp as well, just like Christian Roldan. So those guys certainly further along in their fitness than some of their teammates and certainly some of the guys in the Timbers that have only been in preseason for a couple of weeks.
Just going back to Sebastian Blanco, you spoke about him moments ago. I think this was always going to be a big year for him, but with Darlington Nagbe leaving, I think it becomes even that much bigger, because Nagbe isn't Valeri in the sense that he'll show up on the stat sheet, but he's the kind of guy, once you play with him, you begin to understand exactly what he does. Now his absence is going to expose maybe some of the things that he used to cover and used to do, and Blanco's going to have to plug in some of those holes. So it's going to be a very, very big year for him in terms of making sure that the Portland Timbers don't feel the loss of Darlington Nagbe too much.
Blanco on the left wing, he would kind of switch back and forth between the left and the right last year. Darlington would as well. It never quite, figured out the best way to play those 2 guys, I think. Seems like this year he's going to be on the left, especially with the signing of Andy Polo, who is on the bench tonight, just arrived in Tucson a couple days ago. And play has been stopped. Liam Ridgewell has come over to the bench, and they're gesturing towards back towards Jeff Adinella's goal. Ridgewell and Mabiala now speaking with Baldemaro Toledo, the referee. Give players on both teams a chance to take a breath and get some water. We're unsure what Liam Ridgewell is upset about, but he does seem to be relatively passionate about something. Must have been something that happened earlier.
I'm almost thinking it's something to do with a fan or something, because he's pointing out towards the far stand on the far side there, so it may have to do with that.
Yeah, it's an intimate setting here in Tucson, you could say, which is fantastic for the fans, but also it creates an opportunity for something like that if that's what had happened. It appeared that Liam Ridgewell, as Steve mentioned, gesturing that way.
And Ridgie's a passionate person anyway, so it wouldn't take much to rile him up. But that's one of the things you don't like to see, because it's been a great game so far. The tempo's good, so hopefully nothing more comes off of that.
Man, a great atmosphere here in Tucson as well. You can see how close everything is here, and on the far side you can get even closer than the stands are. That's our vantage point. We're up there in the stands on the far side, which you can see fans. I mean, that's 5 yards away from the players on the field.
And this isn't like playing at CenturyLink or Providence Park in front of thousands and thousands. You can hear everything the fans are yelling at you here. You can hear it. And normally it's positive. You'll get 1 or 2 that aren't. And I think Ridgewell just reacted to that. Obviously, we have no idea what was said to him. But as I said, hopefully that's the end of that, and we can resume this, which has been a pretty good preseason game so far.
It has. And Jordan Morris again is through. This time the flag does come up. Morris has done well to hold his line, playing kind of on the edge of that offside line tonight, but flagged offside this time.
Yeah, I thought Nico Lodeiro just delayed there for a second. The run was on, the pass was on, Jordan took off. Nico just took a second in between lifting up his head and making the pass. He seemed to just delay for a second there, and so Jordan Morris called offside for that. Seemed to be the right decision, but as again, we're going to keep talking about this. Him making runs in behind is positive for the Sounders, because we needed more of that last year. Didn't see it. He was severely missed in the MLS Cup final, not being fully fit. Came on as a sub, wasn't himself. And so if he can stay this fit, we'll probably see him return more towards his rookie year numbers than the numbers he put up last season.
There is Jordan Morris, just 3 goals a year ago after 12 in 2016 when he was named MLS Rookie of the Year. He only scored 1 goal after April 23rd in 18 matches. And there's Elvis Powell. Again, he didn't start against San Jose, didn't play in that match, has been maybe a little bit behind the rest of the crew in preseason because of his wrist surgery. And so he's been slower to kind of get on the track of everybody fitness-wise. Had wrist surgery right after last season. And it looks like he is going to come out of the match. Valentin will come on. This a substitution that we expected to see at halftime. We're going to see it a little bit early. Valentin in for Powell, first sub of the match.
Zarek's someone who's very, very comfortable anywhere across the back four. When I was at the University of Akron, we recruited him, and he ended up coming the year after I'd left. But I've known Zarek for a very long time, and still difficult for me to figure out exactly where his best position is across that back four. Seems to be playing more and more as a fullback these days, but very comfortable on the board. Not as quick as Elvis Powell. So for the Sounders, you're seeing that change, and that's an invitation in my mind for Waylon Francis to try and make even more runs in behind and test Zarek.
He's been an important kind of Swiss Army knife of sorts in the back for the Timbers the past couple of years, playing at right back, at left back. He can play center back in a pinch. 14 right back starts in 2017, just 3 at left back. So he kind of found that position last year and won the job for a while towards the end of the year before Elvis Powell kind of took it back. Last few games we saw Elvis getting forward, really contributing to the attack in October of last year. You expect that position battle certainly to continue into this season. Giovanni Savarese has been very adamant and vocal that he's going to let the players win the jobs on the practice pitch.
And that's one of the things about having a new coach. You know, with Caleb Porter here, he may have come into this having an idea whose job it was to lose. Right now, it's everybody's job to gain. You have the untouchables, the Diego Charas, the Fernando Adis, Diego Valeris, who've earned that distinction. But Elvis Powell, Zack Valentin, that's a battle, and that's why these preseason games, they matter. So for Zack, it's a big 45 minutes plus coming up for him in terms of what his 2018 start to the season looks like.
Seattle coming forward again. It's Ship, it's Morris. It was Ship in the end, and again, it's Adanella making the save. That line of Roldan, Morris, Bruin, and Ship just speeding forward, and it's the second time today Adanella's had to come off his line to stop Perry Ship. The Timbers trying to counter. Valeri over the top to Adi. The first time Ship got behind, Adanella's save was put in eventually by Roldan. Espria couldn't get there. Acrobatic attempt on the ball from Valeri.
And it's a great pass by Nico Ladero. I'm not sure who he's passing to. He has 3 runners pretty much. It ends up being for Will Bruin. Harry Ship takes a decent touch, but great goalkeeping there because he comes out really quickly, closes the gap down, and Harry Ship couldn't lift it quickly enough in time. It ends up being a good save, but another positive piece of play by Nico Ladero. And there are some people saying that he had a down year last year after the half season he had in Seattle where he kind of resurrected the team's fortunes and took him to MLS Cup final. I felt he was playing as well as ever. It's just we'd come to expect him to pull out miracles every time he touched the ball, which is unrealistic. But in his first 42, 43 minutes today, he's looked very, very good. And aside from Jordan Morris, probably been the Sounders' best attacking player.
Yeah, just a high bar that he set when he came into the league in 2016. Still had 7 goals, 12 assists last year.
If 7 goals and 12 assists isn't good enough, I don't care how you get them. Penalties, free kicks, it doesn't matter. If that's a down year, then we'll take that every time. But he was exceptional when he first came from Boca Juniors, and the team was towards the bottom of the table, and he came in was one of the reasons why they went on that fantastic run, got to the MLS Cup, and won the final. That's what Nico Ladero brought, and I guess we expected to see that for a full season, and it's just not realistic. But still had a very, very good year, and he's still figuring out at times how to play when Clint Dempsey's in the side. People forget that when he first came, Dempsey was out. It was his team. So those two are still figuring out whose team this will be in the attacking sense, but hopefully with the time they've had together now, that'll be a lot easier this year than it was last year.
He was the 2016 MLS Newcomer of the Year in just half a season, as Steve mentioned. Still, he led the league in fouls suffered last year, 110, which he was the only player to be fouled triple-digit times in MLS last year. Still quite dangerous and effective for Seattle. Here's Adi out wide to Vitas. Guzman over to Asprilla. Valentin, nifty ball into Valeri, rather Asprilla, nifty ball into Valeri. And it's another corner kick for the Timbers. They've been able to earn a bunch of corners today. In the first half, that's certainly positive. Haven't been able to convert on any. Guzman again to take. It came off a couple players and stayed in play. And Blanco brings down Harry Shipp.
I think both teams will be relatively happy with how their half has gone. For Seattle, it's been more towards, as this half has gone on towards the end of the half, on the counter-attack, relying on the balls over the top from Nico Lodeiro to primarily Jordan Morris. For the Portland Timbers, done a very good job working the ball left to right. We've seen Asprilla involved. We've seen Blanco involved. Obviously, Valeri got the goal. Ariz got his touches. So for Portland, they have to be happy that their attacking group seems to be gelling, and they've got a lot more time to work on this. But also for the Sounders, once they've got in and around the 18, it's been pretty sharp. And so Brian Schmetzer has to also be pleased with where his team is at, especially considering he still has Osvaldo Alonso and Clint Dempsey to come back.
Valeri is offside as this first half winds to a close. A goal apiece for the two rivals from the Northwest. Christian Roldan opened the scoring in the 9th minute. Diego Valeri with his head equalized in the 25th. There will be no stoppage time, as you'd expect in the preseason here in this first half, as the Timbers and Sounders tied at 1 apiece. We expect wholesale changes from the Timbers here at halftime, and not yet from the Sounders, though of course plans do change. We'll expect the Sounders starters to go about 60 minutes in general. Could be some exceptions there for the Timbers. Should be a totally new 11, with the exception, of course, of Zack Mathers, who is a late sub. So we're going to take a break now here during halftime. We'll come back with first half highlights. We'll get you caught up on all the changes that are happening at halftime and the second half of the Timbers and the Sounders. It's the Mobile Mini Sun Cup from Tucson, Arizona. Well, we're back from Tucson, Arizona, Keno North Stadium for the second half of the Mobile Mini Sun Cup matchup between the Portland Timbers and the Seattle Sounders. Currently waiting for the sprinklers to go off. There they go. And we were a little delayed on that start, and now we're, I think, about ready to go. Baldomero Toledo trying to get things underway, the referee. The Timbers have made wholesale substitutions, 10 subs. It's a totally different 11 than start of the match. The Sounders have not. They're going to have their starters go about 60 minutes. We'll really quickly run through who's on the field for the Timbers right now. It's a 4-2-3-1. Kendall Mackintosh is in goal. You can see it right there. Jake Gleason not playing tonight, just preventatively out with a groin. Nothing too serious at all for him, but Kendall Mackintosh getting the run with the second group. You saw the lineup: left back Marco Farfan, Bill Tuiloma, Julio Cascante in the middle, Eric Valentin on the right. Christian Paredes makes his Timbers debut alongside Andres Flores in the defensive midfield. Jack Barmby, Renzo Zambrano, Victor Arboleda in the midfield as well, and Jeremy Ibobasi up top. Early corner kick for the Sounders is cleared away by Cascante, who's come all the way out to defend, and it's a Sounders throw. So plenty of new names now for the Timbers, right? That first half, the starting lineup, that was familiar. All those guys were on the Timbers last year for the Sounders. All those guys, similarly, other than Waylon Francis, they were familiar. Well, now we've got an ability to see some of the new faces, the new names for the Portland Timbers. And I think the big guys, Julio Cascante, big signing, a center back from Saprissa. Christian Paredes, just announced yesterday, a TAM player, 19-year-old defensive midfielder, Paraguayan, signed from Club America. Andres Flores came over from the Cosmos, where he was playing for Giovanni Savarese the past several seasons, starting in the midfield as well. Those are the new players to this organization that are out there, and then some youth as well we're getting a chance to see in this second half.
Well, this is what preseason's about, giving everyone a chance, giving a coaching staff, especially a new coaching staff, the chance to evaluate and see exactly what they have on their roster against a very quality opposition. And this 15 minutes or so where pretty much the Timbers' second team going against a lot of Sounders' first-team players, guys with a lot of international experience. For the Sounders, you expect to dominate. You expect to come out, impose your will, even for 15 minutes, and get your fitness up. For the Portland Timbers, what they're looking for is how can they compete against the likes of a Nico Ladero, Christian Roldan, Chad Marshall back there, Jordan Morris. So should be a key 15 minutes in that respect, and a chance to also impress the new coaching staff and show that you belong on the field in that first 45 with some of the likes of Diego Valeri and Fernando Adi that we saw earlier on. So until the Sounders make their changes, I expect to see sort of a lopsided game. Maybe not, because it's preseason, but definitely the Sounders were the stronger of the two teams out there right now.
Here's Jeremy Ibobasi, striker, showed some really good things in 2017. Victor Arboleda now on the right, and he sails his cross well over the goal of Stefan Fry. Let's take a look at the goals from the first half as we have a chance now. The Sounders opened the scoring with Christian Roldan. It was a well-worked goal. Harry Shipp saved by Jeff Adanella, and then eventually it's Roldan that puts it in. That was in the 9th minute to give Seattle a 1-0 lead.
It's a good run by Harry Shipp, because as a winger sometimes you're forced to make runs outside. He made an outside-in run, was found by Wilburin, and it's a very, very good run. And this was a fantastic goal from Diego Valeri, picking up where he left off last season. We talked about him adding that to his game, not just the late runs, but the ability to finish with his head. And he's done that all year long last year, and kicks off 2018 in exactly that same fashion. But also a great cross by Sebastian Blanco.
That was the first goal of the preseason for the Portland Timbers, and it made it 1-1, which is where we are now, 4 minutes into the second half. Again, the Timbers changed out their entire 11 at halftime. Zack Mathers came on as a late sub in the first half, so really technically 10 substitutions for the Timbers. We still have the starting group out for the Sounders. There's Christian Paredes. He's wearing number 22. Again, announced as a signing yesterday. A defensive midfielder, 19 years old. He's already been capped by Paraguay. On loan, technically, from Club America, the Mexican giant. Started his career with Club Sol de America in Paraguay. Jack Barmby coming forward, getting the ball from Marco Farfan. Ibobasi, it was a good chance, and then Arboleda couldn't get to it. Ibobasi missed hit. It almost ended up in the path of Arboleda, but in the end, harmless for Seattle. Andres Flores combining with Abobasi. Flores forward in a dangerous spot. Renzo Zambrano not comfortable.
That's a throw
in that spot, it appeared, with his left foot, and yeah, all the way out for a throw.
But it's actually a positive start from this Timbers group in the second half. They're going at Seattle. I said, you'd expect to see the Sounders sort of this first team heavy team kind of dictate the tempo. But in preseason, that does vary a lot. And the Timbers definitely looking the hungrier of the two right now. And lots of energy coming forward. And the Sounders maybe gearing just towards making those substitutions because the players are being pushed to the limit of where their fitness is right now.
Yeah, these are guys out there for the Timbers also that are fighting for impressions. I mean, maybe, as you mentioned in the first half, with a new coach, for everybody they need to fight to make an impression. But with this group, you would think even more so, right? They're young guys, they're less established, and this is their opportunity for a guy like Renzo Zambrano, who we just saw with the shot, to try to get signed to the first team. He's on a T2 contract right now. And then for guys like Christian Paredes just into the group to show that he should be playing when MLS play starts. Marco Farfan, one of those guys, the 19-year-old homegrown. And he wins a corner.
And that's absolutely right. You can't underestimate when Caleb Porter leaves, maybe the likes of Diego Valerio, Liam Ridgewell, they'll feel more disappointment because they've got used to working with him. But for guys who are on the outside looking in, the eyes light up. It's a fresh chance, a fresh start, an opportunity to impress a new coaching staff. And they've been doing that in preseason. And now they're out there in front of a good crowd. And what an opportunity for a lot of these young players playing against the guys that are out there for the Sounders.
Here's Renzo Zambrano, the 23-year-old Venezuelan. A member of the Venezuela national team, started his career in Spain. I shouldn't say started his career in Spain, but his last 3 seasons he was playing in Spain, and then signed by T2 in the middle of last year and made an instant impact on a T2 team that did not have a very good 2017. And he added some experience and some leadership out on the field for them. In camp with the first team now, still on a T2 contract. Sending the corner into the box. It's headed clear by Chad Marshall. Foul there on Valentin. Nobody on the field for the Timbers over the age of 27. Andres Flores, the oldest guy out there. Zarek Valentin's 26. Everybody else 24 or younger. A pair of teenagers on the field in Marco Farfan and Paredes. Barmby does well to leave it. Shot was blocked. That was Paredes. He can score goals. Had a couple. Had a big one for Club America in a cup match. Only played a couple times for them last year. Was not really able to find playing time. Hence the move here to Portland. But he's a guy, Christian Paredes, that I think the future seems to be bright for. Member of Paraguay's youth national team, lined up alongside a couple players who are coming into the league as DPs this year. Jose Colman, Orlando, Jesus Medina, and New York City. Those guys were really the midfield line for Paraguay at times for the youth national team. And he's already been capped by the full team at 19. We've seen an influx of Paraguayans into the league led by Miguel Almiron. And youth as well. That's the theme of the offseason, not just here with the Portland Timbers, but I think league-wide are young players coming from Latin America specifically. Paredes was trying to find Barmby. Might fall to Farfan. Battle with Leardom. And the foul called on the young Marco Farfan.
It's been positive for the Timbers, though. I'm sitting here watching these first few minutes of the half, and you can see that the Sounders group that's out there, 45 minutes was maybe the max they could play at that tempo. It's slowed down a lot in the second half. You're not seeing the same dynamic running from Jordan Morris, or Nico Lodeiro isn't popping up in all the usual spots he pops up in, and that's what preseason is for. You get your fitness under you. It's not always about the quality, and when your fitness isn't where it should be, the first thing to go is the quality. And so for the Sounders, that's just dropped off so far in the second half. And the Timbers, the young group, the youngsters, the eagerness, the trying to impress the new coach, it's showing through, and they've made a decent start. Haven't converted to anything really dangerous yet, but they're more than just in this game.
Yeah, fresh legs as well. And like you said, right, that's what preseason's for. If the Sounders starting group can go 45 at kind of full fitness, well, then you want to push them 60, right, to kind of continue to push on their fitness. They'll have another match, as we mentioned earlier, tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. We'll have a different group. So what we'll see, I think, in about 5 minutes or so with the Sounders, that's a strong tackle from Renzo Zambrano from behind on Christian Roldan. Zambrano was actually sent off on Wednesday against San Jose, and he played 30 minutes. He played 27 minutes. He was, come on in that middle 30 minutes and didn't last the whole time. Was shown a straight red.
It's a really, really, really strong tackle, and that's the other side of the coin for players who are trying to impress a new coach and things like that. For me in preseason, that's not a tackle I necessarily like to see. You can let that go and play on, but it comes with that you're so focused on trying to impress the coach, and you're playing with eagerness and a lot of high energy. The ball's there to be won. You're going to go for it, but mistimed that one, and thankfully for Christian Roldan, it wasn't worse than that.
Yeah, you can see what Christian Roldan thought about it, the expression on his face. Now Seattle getting forward for the first time really in the second half. Lodeiro to Roldan. Good ball through. Bruin left it for Ship. Tried to find Morris. Maybe one ball too many for Seattle. And Bobasi fell down trying to chase. It's right back to the Sounders.
I do think Harry Ship could have taken a touch there and shot the ball. But again, in and around the 18-yard box, it has been good for the Seattle Sounders. A lot of times last year, when Clint Dempsey would play, you would see that incisive passing, quick 1-2s, 5-yard passes across the 18-yard box. And when he wasn't there, the team at times would struggle to replicate that kind of high-quality football in and around the 18 at least. Tonight, we've seen that the goal came from it. Another opportunity right there where maybe Harry Ship should have shot the ball. But it has been good for the Sounders when they've got into the final third in dangerous attacking spaces there to find different ways to try and break down this Timbers back line.
On the ball right now is Julio Cascante. He wears number 18. Signed from Saprissa in the offseason using targeted allocation money. Another player from Saprissa to come not only to MLS but to Portland. Morris trying to get through. And it was defended well by Farfan. Mackintosh came off his line. Farfan made it difficult for Morris.
There's that 1-2 punch again, that combination between Nico Lodeiro and Jordan Morris. That's the big positive Brian Schmetz has to take from this half and his coaching staff. Aside from no injuries, it's how sharp Jordan Morris has looked and the understanding between him and Nico Lodeiro. It's a good ball. It's very, very well defended also there. And so you have to take your hat off. Sometimes good defending can nullify a good attacking play. That's probably the last run Jordan Morris has in him. He's pushed himself a lot, and he'll get a well-earned rest in a couple of minutes here because he's had a fantastic performance out there. He's one of the guys coming into the season with a bit, I think, something to prove. We know he's a good player, but can he get closer to his rookie year performance than what he showed last year?
Barmby going through the back of Roldan, who's taken a couple of hits here in the second half. And that might prompt the change as we see a host of young Sounders players taking off their warm-ups and coming to prepare to come into the match. Lodeiro through the legs of Zambrano. Alfaro didn't make it to Morris. Cascante cleared. Cascante, a big center back. He's listed at 6'2". 24 years old. Last 2 seasons was with Saprissa. Actually played against the Timbers in the CCL in 2016 when Saprissa won the group and kept the Timbers from making it to the knockout stage. They signed David Guzman from that group. They signed Roy Miller from that group. And now Julio Cascante, the third player that started for Saprissa against the Timbers in the CCL to play for Portland. Here's a group of Sounders ready to come into the match. There's Ray Sari. He'll be wearing the captain's armband. He's an S2 guy. It's going to be a real young group. S2 academy guys. There's a couple guest players that'll be out there. Essentially, Brian Schmetzer wanting his second unit to play tomorrow morning against Columbus so they can get 60 minutes in, so they can get their fitness levels up. So this last 30 minutes is going to be a young group. Again, a lot of guys they're just trying to make an impression. And a big chance for them against a second unit of the Timbers, featuring guys who are certainly going to be contributing and playing for Portland come regular season time. Tui Loma back to Cascante, who just gets it clear. Brian Schmetzer is giving instructions to his second unit right now. And now they walk towards the fourth official. Morris got it through Tui Loma. It's behind everybody. May have been looking for Francis. Arboleda was able to kind of break it up. Still there for Seattle. Morris was offside. And this will probably prompt the mass substitution. We're going to have a complete line change for Seattle. 11 off and 11 on. We'll go through the players on the pitch for Seattle as we get a chance. But Steve, first your thoughts on the 60 minutes. It was 62 minutes for the starting group for Seattle.
It's a good shift, a very good shift. You look across the back line, they didn't give too much up. Went up against a very quality attack in Ardi and Valeri and Blanco. Very talented players, and yes, Valeri's got his goal, but he'll do that against most defenses. So for the most part, you've got to be pleased with that. Waden Francis showed well in his first 60 minutes in Sounders colours. Moving up onto the pitch there. New formation in the midfield, a diamond. Rodin did well, got a goal. Harry Shipp showed up in dangerous positions, played his part in the goal. Delem filled in admirably there in defensive midfield. And Nico Lodero was all over the pitch, played a number of key passes. And then up top, the two forward experiment worked well. Woodbrim posted up, held the ball, which allowed Jordan Morris to make his runs in behind. And for me, he was a standout player for the Sounders. He's the one who will give Brian Schmetzer the biggest grin from this evening's game, because you can go to sleep knowing, okay, Jordan looks sharp. He's where we want him to be, and he's poised to have a good year if he continues in the way he showed tonight.
He was dangerous, got behind, creating chances throughout that entire second half. Zambrano right side to Arboleda. Valentin coming forward as well, the 17-year-old Kai Briscoe defending. Arboleda into the box, and it's headed away by Rodriguez L. A host of academy players and S2 guys out there. There's Jordan Morris, worked hard tonight. 62 minutes for Morris and the rest of the Sounders starters. This is Ray Serrano on the ball. He's a 15-year-old, youngest guy on the pitch, the youngest player in Tucson for Seattle.
Well, this is also so good to see, and I'm so pleased to see this happening out there, because in my first years with the Sounders, even up until my last years with the Sounders, this wasn't possible. We couldn't field for 30 minutes 15-year-olds or 16-year-old kids, and so it's an evolution of where the league's going, the youth movement, which I'm a big fan of, and the likes of Brian Schmetzer and the Sounders at the forefront of that.
Zack Mathers getting into a dangerous spot. Kind of combines Zach Morris and Zack Mathers there. Slip of the tongue. So Mathers in. So here are the guys who are out there right now. Let's look at Zack Mathers. He's a first teamer, but played exclusively, I should say, with S2 last year. He's Sounders 2's leading scorer. Callie Brown is the goalkeeper. Kai Briscoe, an academy player, is a left back. Callie Brown is here as a guest player, I should say. He was signed to Houston as their third string keeper the past 2 seasons. Rodriguez L, a Sounders 2 player, is a center back alongside Aiden McLaughlin, who is a guest player here in Tucson. Denzo Ulisse is an S2 player who is the right back. Handwala Buana is playing in the midfield with Dylan Tevez, who's a Sounders Academy member, Ray Sari, an S2 guy, Ray Serrano, an academy player, Zack Mathers, a first teamer mostly with S2, and then Shea Adekoya is up top for Seattle. So again, a lot of young guys and a chance to make an impression. And Buana, who's out there wearing number 70 on the left side, was probably the standout of their first match against Club Tijuana against the U20s. He had a goal and an assist, a homegrown signing, played 2 seasons at Washington, was signed in the offseason. And I know Brian Schmetzer certainly was really happy with what he saw in that first preseason match from Buana.
Lots of talent, lots of potential, has a pretty remarkable story also, just his life story, his background, how he got to the University of Washington and all the way up here into the Sounders first team. So preseason's huge for players like that, because you want to get comfortable playing at this level. Making the jump from college, the first thing I found was just the tempo of the game. It's quicker. The players think quicker, the ball moves quicker, you have to get quicker with the ball. No matter how good you were at the lower level, at this next level there is a jump. And so those are the things what you use as a young player for preseason. If you can master that and get used to that, then the sky's the limit.
Cascante trying to find Valentin, and it's out for a throw. This young group has come in now for Seattle, and they've made things difficult for the Timbers second group. Dylan Tevez, 17-year-old, over to Rodriguez L. Ulysse. Nifty touch, confident from the 15-year-old at number 80. That's Ray Serrano. That's Ray Sari challenging Kendall Mackintosh, who made the save. Those two guys used to going at it on the USL level, and now Arboleda showing his speed. He's got players on the left if he can find him. Arboleda coming forward, and he didn't get it right. It was broken up, and then he fouled the Sounders defender. I think that was Tevez tracking back. It looked dangerous on the counter, but in the end, Timbers couldn't make anything of it.
It was a dangerous counter. It was good play by the Sounders on one end. Very good turn in there, and good strike by Sari. And it was a decent save, which led then to the Portland Timbers counter-attack, showing a burst of speed there. The attempted cross was poor, gets intercepted, commits the foul. But that's what you can expect now from these young players. There's a lot of good ideas. Execution might not always be there, but both teams can be happy with their last pieces of attack and play there.
Big save from Kendall Mackintosh as well, the 24-year-old. Signed to the first team, but played exclusively for Timbers 2 last year. 90 saves in 20 matches. He was 4th in the USL, and he played in really just about 2/3 of the team's matches. A knack for the spectacular, crazy athletic. And with Jake Gleason being held out preventative because of a groin, he's getting to play 45 minutes tonight. Barmby trying to turn into a dangerous spot. It's a giveaway. Mathers, here's Buana, a chance for another. His second goal of the preseason for the 18-year-old homegrown Handwala Buana. And it's 2-1 now, Seattle.
Well, it's a mistake. It's a giveaway by Barmby. But everything that came after that, full credit to Seattle. The ball's moving, 1 touch, 2 touch. Great play by Zack Mathers. And how about that for a finish? I mean, the touch, the composure, to control the ball with the sole of his foot and then kind of disguise his body position there and makes you think he's going to the far post, sneaks in at the near post. It's a very, very, very good finish. You can see why Brian Schmetzer and the coaching staff are high on him, because that's a very, very good finish. The composure. So many young players in that position get the ball and they snatch at it because your eyes light up seeing the goal in front of you like that, but stayed very, very calm. Good first touch and an even better finish. Fantastic goal. 2-1 Seattle. 2
goals, 1 assist in about 55 minutes, not even that. 52 minutes of preseason play for Handwala Buana. Signed as a homegrown on January 11th, left school early. Played 2 seasons at the University of Washington. Stood out there, was the 2016 Pac-12 Freshman of the Year, 2017 All Pac-12 First Team. 12 goals, 13 assists in those 2 years for the Huskies. He played with S2 as an academy member in 2015 and 16. Not a ton, but got a couple matches with them, so he's had some experience in a professional environment. And he's making the most of his time here in the preseason as a newly signed homegrown.
But everything about that had to be right. Your touch has to be right. The finish has to be right. You have a lot less time than you think there. He made it look easy. Very, very composed finish there by Buona, and it really was impressive just how the Sounders made the Portland Timbers pay there. It's a turnover outside the 18-yard box, but everything that came after that, the one-touch, two-touch passing, great weight on the pass from Zack Mathers, and then Buona did the rest there. Very impressed by the way he disguised his body. Looked like he was opening up to go to the far post, and then went to the near post, wrong-footed the goalkeeper, and the ball found its way into the bottom corner. And what a fantastic start to preseason life he's had here.
And here we go now for the Timbers. This will excite Timber supporters. The preseason debut for Andy Polo. Their big signing in the attack so far this offseason. Signed using TAM from Morelia in Mexico. He's a 23-year-old Peruvian, speedy winger. He comes on for Renzo Zambrano. Jack Barmby has moved to the middle, Victor Arboleda to the left, and Polo on the right. We expect to see Polo as a right wing, as a right-sided midfielder. That's his most comfortable spot. And you figure it'll be a battle for the starting spot between him and Dairon Asprilla. And this is our first glimpse of Andy Polo. Just arrived in Tucson a couple days ago, trained with the team yesterday. And now he's going to get 15 minutes or so. He's going to be 20 minutes even tonight. And he has a lot of speed. That's his #1 attribute. We'll see what else he can do. Tuiloma carrying it forward around a couple Sounders players. Now Arboleda, he can move as well. And he blows past Rodriguez L. Arboleda into the box, and just too heavy of a touch. Callie Brown able to smother.
Everything was great until that final touch. The turn of pace there, fantastic. Absolutely left the defender in his dust there. But once it gets inside the box, you have to either cross the ball or position yourself to finish the ball. He did neither and takes his touch inside. Makes it very, very easy for the goalkeeper. Everything that came before it was fantastic. But as I've said, with a lot of young players, what you'll see is the ideas are there. It's the execution that's not there. And that comes with time. That comes with experience. As a coach, you see your player do that, you're excited. In the final third, we need more players who are willing to take guys on, make runs at the ball, be creative. And that's what we saw there.
This is a big preseason for Victor Arboleda. He definitely is in the category of guys that want to make an impression on the new coach, Giovanni Savarese. 21 years old. It's Arboleda's third year with the club, his second with the first team. He signed with T2 in 2016. We've seen this. We've seen the pace from him since his first game with T2, but it's always been about what happens now when he gets forward into the box. And again, maybe a little too indecisive.
As someone who was in those positions so many times in my career, what you learn is as you're running, you've already made your mind up what you're going to do. Either you're going to cross the ball or finish it. I don't think he did that. So once he got into the box and you try to figure it out, it's too late. That comes with time. It comes with experience. What you'll find is when you know you've got the defender beat, you've decided, okay, I'm going to go, I'm going to look for a teammate. And once you make that decision ahead of time, it makes the play come off a lot easier. But that will come with time. You can't teach that kind of pace. You can't teach that kind of turn. And for the coaching staff, that's a lot of good raw materials to work with.
Bill Tuiloma crashing forward. The yellow card is going to be shown to Zack Mathers. Arboleda played 55 minutes for the first team last year in MLS play. 13 matches for T2. I'll certainly try to expand on that this year. And Bill Tuiloma, a guy that's also kind of looking to make that jump as you get a look at Zack Mathers. Same guy, same situation for Seattle, right? I mean, he was the leading goal scorer, leading assist for S2 last year. 24 games, 11 goals, 4 assists. He was signed to the first team last year, but hasn't appeared in MLS play. He's in that same spot as a lot of these guys out there for the Timbers, trying to make that jump from maybe being on the fringe of being on the bench, playing on the first team, but mostly playing with the USL team to being a contributor with the first team.
In Seattle, that jump is very tough because in that middle you have Christian Roldan, Osvaldo Alonso, Jordi Lalem, Gustav Svensson, Nico Ladero. These are some of your key guys. So someone like Zack Mathers, it's much better for him to be playing with S2 to get his experience up.
Arboleda wins the corner for the Timbers. It was Rodriguez L sliding in. Looks like Andres Flores will take this. He's the elder statesman out there for the Timbers, 27 years old, from El Salvador. Last 4 seasons playing for Giovanni Savarese and the New York Cosmos. Won 2 NASL titles together. And he's the lone Cosmo that Savarese has essentially brought with him that he's signed to the Timbers. Cascante gets the header down, but it's not dangerous. Tui Loma has not been shy about bringing the ball forward out of the back. He came to Portland described as a defensive midfielder who could play center back, and then got a lot of time with T2 as a center back, and I think Timbers organization thought, well, maybe we have something here. He's played as a center back this preseason, and the thought is he can provide some depth with the first team in that spot. Always signed with the first team, but didn't play for the first team in 2017, was only with T2. 22-year-old from New Zealand. Over 20 caps for the All Whites, the New Zealand national team. Scored 3 goals as a center back for T2 last year as well in just 11 matches, so he can provide a little bit of spark off set pieces and the like. Jack Barmby trying to come forward. Mackintosh with Mathers pressuring. Actually did well to get it to Flores, and Paredes couldn't handle it.
And that's a missed opportunity there, because the Timbers had, it was on. If I know I've got my winger there with the kind of pace he has, I'm doing everything I can to get him in behind. The Sounders had a very high line. He was onside. The pass was missed there, and that's a missed opportunity for the Timbers there.
That was Paredes playing it through. He's still in the very early stages of this preseason, of course, only signed yesterday, Christian Paredes, the 19-year-old. Buana, the goal scorer, the go-ahead goal as it stands, has the second for Seattle. Now it's Ulysse, the right back, floating it into the box. It's easy for Mackintosh. Valentin coming down the right. Broken up. Tevez tracking back. Ray Serrano, again, 15 years old, youngest guy here. 14 goals in 13 games this season for the Sounders, U16, U17s. Been in youth national team camps. What an experience this must be for a 15-year-old to be down here in Tucson, staying at the same hotel with Clint Dempsey, Nicholas Ladero, being integrated in this group for a couple weeks. Nice turn from Paredes. Tries it from distance, and it's easy for Callie Brown.
It's a great turn. ambitious attempt. There would have to be something extremely special to be the goalkeeper, but the turn was good. Good approach play by the Portland Timbers there. And I've been impressed with some of the things, the ideas that I've seen here from the Portland Timbers here in the second half. So the coaching staff already implementing their style, and oh, that's a foul.
It'll be a Timbers free kick. Yeah, Giovanni Savarese has talked about that style. He wants his team to be attack oriented. He wants them to play the ball on the ground. He wants them to press to win balls back. And it's certainly an attack-minded coach. He's sticking with the 4-2-3-1, though has said that he wants to be able to tweak formations if necessary, either from game, an individual game or within a game. Barmby floating this to the back post. Brown far off his line, comes 18 yards off to catch.
Good goalkeeping there, very commanding, made his mind up early that he was coming for it. When defenders see that, he breathes confidence through that back line, came in, claimed it, made it his. Very good goalkeeping.
He's 6'6", 25 years old. He's a guest player here. Again, was signed to Houston the last 2 seasons. Didn't play in MLS. Spent 2015 in the USL with Pittsburgh. Won the College Cup in 2014 with Virginia. You can see the size. Here's Andy Polo, showing off the speed down the right wing. Has it Bobasi in the middle. It's behind him. Still there maybe for Arboleda, and just nothing behind that shot. Not enough power. It's easy for Brown.
With that kind of opportunity, you've got to get more out of that. The ball was just behind the Bobasi there. He slips. The run wasn't bad. The ball wasn't bad. It just, the timing was a little bit off. Again, you can maybe put that down to preseason. Maybe a little bit of lack of quality, lack of focus. But what a fantastic opportunity. And when the shot did eventually come in, very, very comfortable for the goalkeeper. But again, the team is looking very, very dangerous on the counter-attack. A lot of pace in that attacking group.
Polo drawing the foul. We've seen now about 10 minutes of Andy Polo. Certainly can see his danger down the right wing. But just behind Bobasi there. If that's in the path of Jeremy Bobasi, it's probably 2-2. Again, it'll be Jack Barmby to serve. He might be going for goal. And Brown is able to backtrack and collect. He either overhit it or was trying to catch Brown off his line. Here comes Mathers. Another opportunity maybe for Seattle at Okoye, and he waited too long and allowed Paredes, I believe it was, to come back and knock it back to his keeper.
And that's why it has to be a lot quicker for Shea Adekoya there. Big year for him. He's had a year under his belt now as a professional. In those instances there, you have to be better. You have to decide ahead of time what you'll do with the ball. He receives the ball. To start thinking after you've taken your touch, you're going to be closed down at this level, and that's exactly what the Timbers defense did there. Another good attack by the Sounders, good pass by Zack Mathers, but for Adekoya, you have to be way more decisive in that position.
Oh, good ball from Barmby to pick out Arboleda, but it was recovered. It was, I think that's Ulysse recovering, it was, and then Arboleda again not getting anything behind his shot. He got it back. That was a great ball from Barmby is what I was trying to say in the beginning, but Ulysse was able to make it difficult for Arboleda at least, and then in the end Arboleda couldn't do much with it. You mentioned a couple times, Steve, kind of like having the idea of what you want to do before you get the ball or right as you're getting it. Does that come with time? Is that something that's in a natural ability? Can you develop that?
It's both. I'm speaking about it because I came in my rookie year and, had a lot of pace and would always be in these great positions. But so many times I would miss Freddie Montero. I would miss Freddie Lundberg when I got in the final third. And it was my coach taking me aside, Ziggy Schmidt, telling me you have to decide ahead of time which kind of cross you're going to put in. Will it be along the ground? Will it be in the air? You can't get there and then decide. 9 times out of 10, you're going to beat the fullback. If you have an idea what you want to do, it'll be a lot easier. And then you train on it. You start training on it. You make decisions quicker. And by my second year, third year, it was second nature. I knew what I had to do before the ball came to me. And I began to find my strike partners. And it just became a thing where it's a part of my game. So it comes with time. You need to be out there making the mistakes in the preseason, in training, so that when you get to a real game that really counts, you've been there before and you can make it count. So it's a bit of both.
The Timbers have made a substitution. We expect this to be their final one, though plans can always change. It's Eric Williamson, the 21-year-old, technically a homegrown for the Timbers, though he was developed by DC United and then acquired in a trade by Portland. Coming on, Victor Arboleda coming off. Williamson looks like he's occupying the number 10 spot, with Jack Barmby moving to the left. Barmby getting it wide to Andy Polo. Polo is just going to run right past the youngster Kai Briscoe, who did well to recover, make it difficult for Polo. It's back in for Valentin. Barmby trying to get there. Sorry, broke it up. Polo trying to win it back. Rather, Williamson trying to get it back. Ends up with Valentin. Now here's Andy Polo. Paredes. Williamson just a little bit too far, a little too heavy on the return ball to Paredes. Four minutes left, maybe a little stoppage time, though probably not, given that it's in the preseason. Seattle right now with a 2-1 lead. Handwala Buana, the go-ahead goal, the only goal of the second half. Christian Roldan and Diego Valeri traded goals in the first half. We've got a group of S2 guys, academy guys, a couple guest players out there for Seattle right now against kind of a second group for the Timbers. All youth on the field from both teams. Sliding into Giovanni Savarese is Zack Mathers. Polo into Valentin. Valentin's cross cleared away by McLaughlin, the guest player for Seattle. Tuiloma coming forward. The center back not afraid. And he took a heavy touch. It's broken up. Now Mathers gets fouled by Paredes. It looks like Portland will make at least one more sub as Dustin Correa comes over. Correa will come on for Jack Barmby. Correa is a guest player. He's the trialist, essentially. He's from Milwaukee, Oregon, was the Oregon 6A Player of the Year back in 2009, has been playing in the NASL last 3 seasons with FC Edmonton. Before that was in El Salvador for a year, in Scandinavia for a few years right out of high school. Has been capped 15 times by the El Salvador national team. And is now trying to make an impression in Portland. That's a good ball. Adekoya is in. Mackintosh quick off his line to smother. It was Tevez playing Adekoya. Mackintosh using his speed to get there. Maybe on for Seattle. What a save. Kendall Mackintosh denying Buana his second of the game and his third of the preseason.
Very, very crafty Buana. Once he gets into that final third, defender can't touch him. You touch him, it's a penalty. Fantastic little Cruyff turn there. Gets it onto his left foot. Comfortable going left or right there. Good shot, good save.
Buana has certainly made an impression. That was a dangerous ball. El couldn't get there. We talk about young guys. wanting to make an impression in the preseason. Handwala Buana seems to be, it's only been 2 games, but seems to be the person who's kind of grabbing that most tightly and has really impressed for Seattle now for the 2nd straight match.
He's been good, and I think all in all, both coaching staffs and both teams will be happy with what they've seen out there. You've got the fitness part of it, out of that. Your first team guys went out there, did what they should do at this stage of preseason. Second half, it's been what you expect. A preseason game, very erratic, lots of energy, good ideas, execution not quite on par with that. You've got what you want to do for the Timbers. You've got a long time to still work on things. And for the Sounders, you're a couple of weeks away from a very important game, but you've escaped this game with no injuries, got your guys a little bit fitter and closer to where they should be for when the real thing starts.
Well, this goal kick should be the final kick of this preseason match. We don't expect any stoppage time, but we'll watch Baldomero Toledo, the referee, in the middle. And that is it. So the 2 Pacific Northwest rivals come down to Tucson, and it's the Seattle Sounders coming out on top. 2-1 thanks to Handwala Buana's 68th minute goal. Ended up being the game winner, and the first ever post-game handshake between Giovanni Savarese and Brian Schmetzer at midfield. 2 guys that will go up against each other for real when it counts on May 13th, the first of 3 regular season matches between the Timbers and Sounders. That match will be in Portland. That will be the 100th meeting between the Timbers and the Sounders, all-time, all-era. They'll also play on June 30th in Seattle, and then August 26th again in Portland. The Timbers hosting 2 of the 3 this year. Steve, final thoughts for you on this match, both sides?
Got to be happy with what you're seeing for the Sounders. We went with the 2 forwards that played a pivotal role in the goal the Sounders end up scoring. It's Christian Roldan with the goal, but Will Bryn involved, Jordan Morris involved. So Brian Schmetzer will be happy with the fitness the first team got and also how sharp they looked. And for the Portland Timbers, in the times they did have chances to attack, they made the Sounders pay with this one there. Diego Valeri getting in, picking up where he left off last year. So all in all, you've got to be pleased with that. And this is my highlight of the game for me, the Sounders, the goal that the Sounders scored in the second half, because the composure it takes here in that position to not rush, to not be too quick, to not snatch at the ball, and to calmly slot into the bottom corner. For a player that young, that's a very, very positive sign for the Seattle Sounders. Both coaching staff will be happy with what they've seen today. The Sounders get the win. That's not what counts at this stage. It's the fitness. There's no injuries. Good game, good atmosphere. Everyone has to be pleased.
And for the Seattle Sounders, they'll play tomorrow morning, 11 a.m. against the Columbus Crew. It'll be a different group out there, but they work towards getting everybody match fit. The Timbers go home tomorrow to Portland, where they'll train for a week. Then they'll be back in Tucson. Their next preseason match on Valentine's Day against Houston. That will be a 1 p.m. Pacific time start right here at Keno North Stadium. Timbers open their season on March 4th against the Los Angeles Galaxy on the road. The Sounders open their MLS season on March 4th against LAFC at home, but they have a very important match on February 22nd, the first leg of their CONCACAF Champions League round of 16 against Santa Tecla. For Steve Zakawani, for our entire crew down here in Tucson, I'm Jake Zivin. Thanks so much for watching this preseason stream, the Portland Timbers and Seattle Sounders. Sounders 2, Timbers 1 is the final. Good night from Tucson.